Our weed of the week is a tough perennial. It's field bindweed, or as some people call it, creeping Jenny.
Anytime we're talking about a perennial weed, we're concerned about what kind of reproductive system it has. Now this one, it has rhizomes, and rhizomes are probably the worst. If you said, oh, it only went to seed, okay, well we can stop weeds from going to seed, but rhizomes are tough. They're underneath the ground. And you've probably heard us say it on the show before. The number one thing I would say with this particular weed is don't do tillage. Once you do tillage, you've cut that root system up, and instead of one plant, you're gonna have 50 plants. And that makes it that much more difficult to get.
All right, here's the other thing that's kind of a challenge with a lot of these vining weeds that are in that same kind of family as field bindweed. Roundup is just not the best. So yes, Roundup can have some activity on it, and right away when you think perennial weed, you go, boy, I need something systemic, I want to use Roundup. Okay, if you want to try that, go ahead, but make sure you're using the highest labeled rate on Roundup.
In terms of weed identification, it often gets misidentified as wild buckwheat.
Yep.
All you have to do is pull the plant up and you'll see very quickly. Wild buckwheat has a simple taproot system, and if you start seeing those roots going sideways, you know you have rhizomes and you know it's field bindweed.
Yeah, wild buckwheat is simply an annual. This is a perennial weed.
All right, so Brian kind of hinted at the real key here. Get it before it starts vining out. Get it early in the season. If you're going to do a burn down, Roundup's not the best at it, so you may have to add something in. In front of Extend soybeans, we've got a great option. You could add dicamba into the burn down. That's my favorite product in front of soybeans to use. But you can't do that if you don't have Extend soybeans, and many people get tempted to use 2,4-D. Please don't. You can see some injury on those soybeans if you're doing it relatively close to planting. If you're going to use 2,4-D, you're going to have to be out there a month or two in advance, or do it the fall before.
Yeah, so 2,4-D and dicamba work if that fits for you, so that certainly can be done out in pastures as well if you want to, but that's basically going to burn down the top growth, so don't expect long-term control out of either one of those.
Let's talk about control then, Brian. Where do you actually start to get really good control?
Okay, a lot of people have been using Grazon, so they have the 2,4-D burning the top growth down and the Toradon getting into the root system. I think Toradon has pretty decent activity. I've actually had people using Stinger, Hornet, that type of product, so when I think about that in pastures, I go, hey, in corn I've got Hornet, in Sure Start or Triple Flex. Start that way, then follow with Status post-emerge. In soybeans, I'm still going to run the 3 pre-program. I really need you to follow with Roundup or Extend beans would be my preference. Liberty's not too bad on this either, but it'll just burn the top growth down. In wheat, I'd use Sharpen Pre, and then Wide Match is probably just a little bit better than Husky Post.
That's all the time we have for this week's weed, but Iron Talk is coming up next.